Si comes tienes que lavar tu plato, Firulais. Anda, enjuágalo bien. No me gruñas. A ver, con la esponja eso. Y enjuaga bien que luego deja todo jabonoso. Eso así, muy bien, aunque de malas.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Over the weekend, they held the kickoff press conference for Errol Spence Jr. versus Tim Kazoo that was rumored to be going down for a while now. They made it official, and Errol Spence Jr. addressed his health concerns. Or should I say what concern there is for him and his health. Errol Spence Jr. has spoken directly about the health questions that have followed him since his final fight. While preparing for his return to the ring against Tim Tszyu, Spence will box on July 25th at a catch weight of 158 pounds. Nearly 3 years have passed since Terence Crawford dropped Spence 3 times and stopped him in the 9th. To become undisputed at welter, the performance reignited questions about the long-term consequences of a near-fatal car accident that left Spence with severe dental and facial injuries years before the Crawford defeat. It's also important to note that in between the time that Errol gets into that car accident and fights Terence Crawford, he had about 2 fights. 2 that he won. All the while, his supporters and other members of the PBC providing assurances that not only is Errol Spence Jr. back up to 100%, but he's going to beat Terence Crawford, he's going to collect his eye. You remember all of that? Spence returned after that car accident to stop Yordenis Ugas in the 10th round and beat Danny Garcia on points, suggesting the damage was manageable, but the Crawford fight, one-sided from the opening bell, raised doubts that have not gone away. More recently, public appearances drew attention for what some described as slurred speech. Spence has now had his say on the matter. I'd say I'm all right. How's my speech? My speech has always been kind of slurred with these teeth right here because they're not spaced out, so air can't even come through. That's just from the car accident. I appreciate everybody expressing their concerns. I have mine too. They're right to have those concerns, Spence said. Could that be it? Could Errol Spence Jr.'s veneers be the reason he sounds the way that he does? And you know that Gervonta Davis, his speech is kind of slurred too. Bear in mind, he hasn't taken any life-altering beatings or been in any wars in the ring. Not really, but his speech sounds just about as slurred as Errol. So could that also be the byproduct of oversized veneers? It's possible. Although it's an unusual admission for a fighter preparing for a comeback, Spence has never been one to manage perception over substance. Since the Crawford defeat, he has also undergone cataract surgery on his right eye and spent the bulk of 3 years largely out of the public view, an extended silence that has only fueled the uncertainty around his condition. So I saw the presser, saw the interviews, I heard Errol Spence Jr.'s speech. Honestly, he doesn't really sound any different to how he's normally sounded the last few years. That doesn't even mean that his speech isn't slurred. It still might be. All that really means is that it's nothing new. Could that be a byproduct of the car accident, residual effects of head trauma, or is it what Errol says? He's got oversized veneers, and they affect how he's able to pronounce words. What do you believe? Why is Errol Spence Jr. back? Why is Errol Spence Jr. fighting? Why is he going to Australia? Why isn't it happening here? Money. The answer to all of those questions is the same. Money. Money is the reason Errol Spence Jr. is back. Money is the reason he's fighting, and money is the reason he's going to Australia, because in Australia, him versus Tim is a big fight. But in America, him versus Tim is 2 shop-worn fighters. It's not a big fight here. It's not hard to find online support for Errol Spence Jr. in the usual boxing spaces, but what you see online doesn't always translate to real-world dollars. Dollars is what this is about. If Errol could make big money in the United States with that fight, then he would. Stay here. Of course he would, because we know how much American fighters resent having to travel, being the away fighter. If he's the away fighter, it's because this likely gets him the most money for this fight. Now they're gonna slap a PBC bumper sticker on it and tell you that it's a PBC show when the ones putting it together, it's not the PBC. it's No Limit.
The PBC don't have any money. No Limit does.
Do you need any more giveaway than the show being in Australia? Who do you think the lead promoter is?
Can Errol win?
I suppose that it's a case of Errol Spence Jr.'s ring rust versus Tim Kazoo's PTSD and wear and tear, because in spite of the car accident and the life-altering beating that he took, Errol has had 3 years to recover to lick his wounds, whereas Tim...
Tim spent over a year and a half getting fucked up.
been beating the shit out of that guy. He's been in a perpetual state of coming back and going back to the drawing board for well over a year now, bouncing from trainer to trainer.
From veteran trainer Pedro Diaz to veteran fighter Jeff Fennick, a move that I don't like, by the way, but I don't like Errol's corner either. I've never had a high opinion of Ronnie Shields.
And I still don't know. It almost feels like a lot of PBC fighters end up with Ronnie due to proximity.
Like he's the in-house trainer or something. It's either him or Bob Santos.
I would have sooner recommended Buddy McGirt for Errol Spence Jr.'s comeback. He showed a penchant for being able to rebuild fighters that are on the bounce and bring the best out of them. Being with Ronnie,
I don't like it.
that's what it is. It's a question of Errol Spence Jr.'s ring rust versus Tim Zoo's wear and tear, because even if Errol did take a beating at the hands of Crawford, that was over 3 years ago. Tim's been getting his ass kicked much more recently, and those wounds are more fresh.
They are. But Tim Zoo's coming off of 2 consecutive wins, where Errol is still coming off the loss to Crawford. It's a genuinely intriguing fight, albeit for the wrong reasons, because it's a question of who's more fucked up?
Who's more sharp one?
Now, they're both action fighters, so that almost guarantees that this is going to be an action fight, though who wins it under these circumstances, it's actually hard to say.
Now it's time for another installment of what has fast become the most popular segment here on the channel, Ring IQ Hate Mail! Big Mason is back.
And it's about David Benavidez again.
He didn't like my previous video regarding the subject of Jai Opataya and why they're not fighting. Big Mason said, you know that boy would beat the piss out of your favorite fighter. That's why you're always trying to diss David.
Oh, my favorite cruiserweight? Because my favorite cruiserweight's Jai Opataya, but he doesn't want to fight him.
Just be honest about it, Blood. We both know what it is.
No, we don't. No, you don't. You're actually getting upset at me because I want him to fight Jai Opataya, but I know he's not going to. And I called this...
And I said all of this would happen years in advance. And I'm not the one that's upset. You are, because you're the one dying on a hill over David Benavidez.
I told you he was going to skip out on light heavy to go fight Zerto. I told you he was going to beat him, and I told you afterwards he's not going to fight Jai Opataya. What's to be upset about? Elias Alvarado said, a David hater, now a David crybaby. You're never gonna give him his flowers. Keep crying, though. This is hilarious.
I'll probably never have to. Never give him his flowers, because he'll never give me a reason.
He's telling me to keep crying, but he's the one crying in my comment section. He's literally the one who came here to see what I think about his favorite fighter.
There are any number of content creators out there that are a lot more supportive of David Benavidez than I am, that you would still come here to see what I think.
Nothing changed, and you're the one crying, sweet cheeks.
Ro B said, Benavidez beats Opataya. Well, I'm glad that one of us thinks so.
And it's not David.
If David truly felt that he could beat Jai Opataya as easily as he beat Anthony Yard or Zerto Ramirez, then he would be in a hurry to fight him. Why put your body through it? Why boil back down to 175 pounds when we all know that's not going to be easy?
He's not going to boil down to 175.
I know he isn't, but these guys think he will just because he said so. Do you know how unlikely it is that a fighter who moved all the way up to cruiser is then going to cut 25 pounds to move back down?
How often do you see that happen in the sport?
Not often, because it doesn't often happen, and in the back of my mind, I don't expect it to happen with David, but these guys believe it because he said it. So they should be the ones asking, well, why go back down to light heavy when you can stay put, stay there, and fight Jai Opataya for a big wad of cash? He's got money behind him.
But these guys find it offensive that I should want to see David fight him after he makes his cruiserweight debut. Why wouldn't I want to see him fight the #1 cruiserweight? He just became a champion there.
Wilfredo Cervantes said, this channel will never give Benavidez credit. First fight at 200 pounds, took on a unified champion.
Relax. relax, sweet cheeks. He took on an old sparring partner.
Leave that part out, why don't you? Wilfredo continued, that'd be pretty good. When Canelo bypassed Benavidez 5 times at 168, this channel made nothing but excuses for Canelo. The bias is obvious. I bet the house that Benavidez will fight Opataya by his 3rd or 4th fight at Cruiser.
3 or 4 fights? What's that, 2 years?
Who knows? Benavidez might lose, but the fight will happen. These dudes on some other level fanboy hate because Canelo chickened out to the point that Benavidez...
The only ones still focused on Canelo are you guys, not us. Normal people understand that whether you like Canelo or not, the fight's not going to happen between him and David. So David has got to fight other people, while you guys are still fixed on a little redhead in his mid-30s at super middle who's coming off a loss.
Who's not going to fight David. So why are you getting upset that I say he should fight other people? He said, Benavidez is known more for being Canelo's fear of him.
I really don't know what David or his fans think they're accomplishing by constantly bringing up Canelo Alvarez. It doesn't translate into dollars, which is why this weekend's event didn't sell out. You can see all of the curtained off sections in the top row.
Sections that they didn't need to open because David couldn't fill them. Couldn't fill them with this fight
or the next one, because until he can start generating genuine intrigue with his fights, it ain't gonna work. It's not gonna fly. Most people didn't think Zerto stood a chance, so the intrigue that draws the casual observer to a boxing match
is absent.
They get upset when I point out that David Benavidez never fought the #1 fighter at any weight he's ever campaigned, and he himself was never the #1 fighter. When he was a champion, he was one of 4 champions.
Though not #1. That's why he's never held the Ring Magazine title at any weight he's campaigned. He's never been lineal.
I don't think he's ever gonna be.
And what they'd prefer that I do is sit here talking about Canelo Alvarez over a fight that, whether you like Canelo or not, it isn't gonna happen. If I start talking about fights that can, these guys get offended.
They just want to talk about Canelo all day over a fight that isn't gonna happen.
That isn't gonna put asses in the seats of David's fights. That isn't gonna sell pay-per-views. If anything, it makes David look like a clout chaser.
Makes him look desperate.
You just won 2 alphabet titles at your 3rd weight. You just became a unified cruiserweight champion, and the first thing you do is start talking about a super middleweight in his mid-30s coming off a loss with no belts.
Who's going to outsell you as soon as he comes back.
You saw Sergio Morris say, the quote-unquote Mexican monster has officially taken over the Cinco de Mayo fight day.
The Mexican monster? The one that Julio Cesar Chavez said isn't Mexican? That Mexican monster?
The one he said isn't fully embraced by Mexico because he's still seen as an American boxer. Sorry to tell you, Serge, but the only reason David even fought on that day is because Canelo didn't fight on that day. David's handlers would not risk one event cannibalizing the other by having David go head-to-head with Canelo. He can't win.
You're not going to draw more people to a David Benavidez fight than you will a Canelo Alvarez fight. It's an inconvenient truth David's fans don't like.
Like David not being Mexican or being viewed as Mexican or even known in Mexico by Mexicans. There's a cognitive dissonance.
To be a David Benavidez fan, you have to be in denial about a lot of things, including his nationality.
I saw veteran content creator Punch Drunk Boxing say, David Benavidez is the face of boxing, period.
I never heard of a guy being the face of boxing and making less money than other people.
Punch Drunk continued, and every boxing fan should be proud to say that because he brings excitement and aura that's truly missing in the sport.
By fighting an old sparring partner? By beating people everybody knows he's gonna beat?
He's one of the very few that can captivate the imagination and emotions of sports fans across the world. This is what the sweet science is, not that passive bullshit that only serves that particular fighter. Benavidez's style serves the entire sports world. He's the type of fighter that makes you fly out or throw a huge boxing party.
Then where are the huge numbers, Mr. Moonshine? Where are the huge gate receipts? Where are the huge pay-per-view buys? If what you say is true,
how could he be the face of boxing when there are so many other boxers all around the world generating more revenue and more interest with their fights than he is with his? The bigger fight this past weekend wasn't Benavidez versus Zerto, it was actually Inoue versus Nakatani.
Don't believe me? Which fight had a bigger gate? Which fight sold more pay-per-views.
Inoue versus Nakatani in Japan generated more revenue overall, more revenue by and large.
And in a very general sense, Naoya Inoue makes more money than David Benavidez. So how could he be the face of boxing and there's a little super bantamweight getting paid more than he does? And not just him.
Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk.
They get paid more than David Benavidez does. So does Ryan Garcia. So does Gervonta Davis, I think. How could he be the face of boxing and there are other boxers out there getting more money than he is and generating more money than he is? Make it make sense.
I never heard of a guy being the face of boxing and there's some other boxer out there making more money than he is. But according to Lou Dembella, Benavidez is the #1 must-see entertainer today. Combines power, speed, and underrated technical superiority with the kind of in-ring ferocity and mean streak that doesn't come along often. Will beat anyone who will take him from 175 to 200 pounds, and he fears none of them.
So then why is he making us wait 2 years for an Opataya fight?
And unlike many of today's champions, he is worth the price of admission. He is now what Samson Lukowicz said, an all-time great evaluator of boxing talent, the real boogeyman.
Real boogeyman? Boogeyman? Did I miss something? Has Jai Opataya not been calling this guy out?
I thought when you're a boogeyman, nobody wants to fight you. Last I checked, Artur Beterbiev has been saying he wants to fight David Benavidez at light heavyweight, and Jai Opataya has been saying that he wants to fight him at cruiser. So how's he a boogeyman if there are guys lining up to fight him?
I thought the earmark of being a boogeyman was nobody wanting to fight you. Near as I can tell, the boogeyman at cruiser isn't David, it's Jai Opataya, because Zerto didn't want to fight him, neither did CBS, and now, neither does David. That's the boogeyman, not your souped-up American hype job, because that's what you guys are in the business of doing.
Manufacturing characters, not developing fighters. You call this guy the Mexican monster, except according to Chavez, the guy's not Mexican and Mexicans don't know him.
Call this guy a boogeyman. Like nobody wants to fight him, but Jai Opataya wants to fight him.
And you say that he's the face of boxing, except that he's not the top-earning boxer in the sport. He's not the sport's biggest draw on either side of the Atlantic Ocean. So how could he be the face of boxing? You're coming up with all these labels that don't have any meaning.
Descriptions to which he doesn't fit the mold, because being the face of boxing has never meant anything else. The face of boxing is the boxer who earns the most, generates the most, and draws the most.
It's never meant anything else, but you want to augment that definition so that it can also encompass David Benavidez, because it's your intention to manufacture a face of boxing, crown him a star by pushing propaganda, pushing product.
I'll tell you that he's never going to be the face of boxing because he's never going to do what he's got to do to become the face of boxing. And it's not begging for Canelo Alvarez to return your phone calls.
That's just fucking pathetic.
David Benavidez presents as the last gasp of a long line of hype jobs manufactured by the PBC that they are now pouring all their hopes into. So emotional that he pounced on an old sparring partner that none of them thought would win the fight.
Well, his supporters get upset at me for saying so. They'll keep it up. You're just providing me with more material, more ring IQ. Hate mail.